what's up, everybody? Steve Schwartz here from LSAT Unplugged, joining you today to talk about the logic games field study that will be conducted over the next few days from LSAC, testing out new logic games questions. Before I get into it, please do me a favor, like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It really helps with that YouTube algorithm, and I really do appreciate it. So for those of you who aren't aware, LSAC is exploring adjusting or changing the current LSAT logic games section, and they are conducting an analytical reasoning, aka logic games, field study over the next few days, specifically on Friday, December 16th, which is tomorrow at the time of this recording, as well as Saturday, December 17th. Why are they doing this? Well, they need to be able to test out how their new, strange, bizarre logic games questions will perform on test takers relative to the current standard logic games that have been used on the LSAT since 1991. LSAC is very big on statistics. They want to make sure that the LSAT is a valid and reliable admission test, and so they need a large set of test takers to try out these questions so they can see how these test takers do on these questions relative to regular LSAT logic games. So the analytical reasoning field study will include 2 sections of research or new experimental logic games, and then 1 section of standard regular logic games. Now, any LSAT student, anyone preparing to go to law school is eligible to participate in this field study as long as you are not in the test prep industry. So I myself and others like me are not able to participate, but those of you out there who are pre-law students not teaching others the LSAT are certainly allowed to participate. It's totally free, and participating does not count as one of your LSAT administrations. So there are, of course, LSAT retake limits. You can't take the LSAT an unlimited number of times, but if you were worried about running up against those limits, you're good. You can take this and it will not count as one of your takes. Your score on this field study also will not be reported to law schools. Law schools will never know how you performed on any of these logic games, whether it's the standard logic games or the new experimental logic games. And if you participate, you will get back a copy of the official regular logic games, as well as your performance on those games. So you will get a full section of LSAT logic games that probably has never been released before, as well as copies of your responses, as well as the correct answers. So it's a good chance to take an official LSAT, or part of one at least, in a proctored setting and get used to the format that you'll experience on test day. I highly recommend participating. If you are already signed up and you weren't sure whether to go ahead with it, by all means, go ahead. There's not really any downside to getting a sneak peek at what the new logic games might look like, as well as getting a sense of what your experience will be like taking a regular LSAT section under real world proctored conditions. Now, a lot of folks are worried about the coming changes to the logic game section. When will it happen? How will it affect everybody? If you're watching this video now in 2022 or in 2023, you probably don't need to worry about the coming changes to the logic game section. LSAC moves very slowly, and they probably won't come out with any major changes to the game section until 2024 at the earliest. I'm expecting that they'll probably change the logic game section in June 2024, because June is typically when they make any big changes. LSAC is very much by the book, by the calendar, and they consider June to be the start of their testing year. They also need to take some more time to figure out what the logic game section will look like. And this is really the early stages. They did test out some new questions as an experimental section on the June 2022 LSAT. So check out my video about the logic game section in June 2022, the experimental section there, to learn more about what happened. But the short answer is that LSAC is only at the beginning stages of exploring what this section will look like going forward. As for why they're making these changes, it's because most likely that because as a result of a lawsuit, a blind test taker, Angelo Bino, sued LSAC, contending that he was at an unfair disadvantage relative to other test takers because he was not able to benefit from diagramming on the logic game section as most other test takers can. Which, if you think about it, is a pretty reasonable argument. I mean, try to do logic games without any diagramming at all, not very easy to do. So the new bizarre logic games that we will likely see in a couple of years, those likely will rely less on diagramming. They will benefit, you will benefit less from diagramming on that section. The reports from the June 2022 LSAT experimental takers suggested that these questions involved a bit more of the kinds of formal logic that we see in the LSAT logical reasoning section. Regardless, whether you're taking the LSAT with the current logic game section or the new logic games that will likely come out probably next year, I'm here to support you. I will, of course, be updating my live online LSAT classes as well as my on-demand video lessons inside the LSAT Unplugged course to reflect both the current logic game section as well as the new logic games as soon as LSAC releases more information about what those will look like. They will, of course, release sample questions and a bit more background on their suggestions about how to approach these kinds of questions. And so, of course, I will update my prep materials accordingly. I'm here to support you whether you are taking the LSAT with the standard games or with the new games down the line. So check out the links below this video for more information about the LSAT Unplugged courses. If you're considering taking the LSAT in 2023 versus 2024, I highly recommend taking the LSAT in 2023. Make this the year that you conquer the LSAT and get it done. Make it your New Year's resolution, because there are nearly 400 released logic games in the current LSAT format. When LSAC releases samples of what the new logic game section will look like, there will not be 400 examples. Believe me, there will be maybe a handful of examples, and there will be much less prep material out there about the new logic games relative to the standard logic games. And while, of course, I will update all my prep materials inside the LSAT Unplugged course to reflect the new logic game section, I will not have as much prep material to go off of myself, and I will work tirelessly. I will stay up night after night after night creating new materials for everyone inside the course, but it will just not be nearly as much volume of material or as much depth right away relative to the games that we've had 30 plus years to work on. Again, the current game section has been around since June 1991. We are now in December 2022, so we're talking about 31 and a half years of the current game section to work off of. I've been an LSAT coach since 2005, so I've had 15 plus years of experience and time to develop more and more materials and best practices for the current game section. It will take a little bit of time for anybody to work out methods and approaches and build that same library of material for the new logic game section. And of course, I will work night after night developing everything for you, but it's going to take some time. So make 2023 the year that you kill the LSAT, and reach out if you need anything. More information about the LSAT Unplugged courses linked below this video. If you found this helpful, please like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It really does help, and I really do appreciate it. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.